It happened pretty much like I would say 3 weeks after the Campbell fight. You know, everything came crashing down on me. I had a lot happen to me before that Campbell fight. I never addressed any problems I had outside the ring, and it really destroyed my mental. I was lost in my head. I can't, words can't really describe how it felt, but it's like being in a maze and I don't know where to go. I'm just happy to be here. I really am, and I'm thankful.
There was a night in 2021 when Ryan Garcia sat in a car, alone, holding a bottle of pills, and thought seriously about ending his life. That is not a headline. That is not a promo. That is a real moment that Garcia himself described in his own words, a moment that almost erased everything. The fights, the knockouts, the 10 million Instagram followers, the knockdowns on Devin Haney, the return from suspension, none of it happens if Garcia makes a different choice that night. Boxing almost lost Ryan Garcia before he ever became the fighter you know. In the version of that story the world got, the press releases, the mental health headlines, the social media drama barely scratched the surface of what actually happened. This is the full story, the one nobody has ever put together completely, and by the end of this video, you will understand Ryan Garcia in a way that changes how you see every fight he has ever had.
Struggle for me to get in that ring, but it's because because it's gonna be special. It's a special thing that's gonna happen. But I know that as long as I get to the ring, I'm gonna be great.
This kid is a superstar. He's out. My word.
Fans are impatient though, always, right? And you kind of see.
But I'm 23. That's the best thing.
Oh, people don't care that you're only 23. They still, I think what they're impatient is they think, he's 23, should be fighting more often. We should see him more regularly in the ring. This inactivity isn't good for him, blah, blah, blah.
You clicked this video because you have seen the chaos, the social media meltdowns, the conspiracy posts at 3 a.m., the missed weight, the positive drug test, the arrest at the Beverly Hills Hotel, the loss to Romero. And maybe, like a lot of boxing fans, you have spent the last few years trying to figure out which Ryan Garcia is the real one. Is he the generational talent who dropped Haney 3 times, or is he the guy who showed up drinking on fight day? Here's what most people covering this story got wrong. They treated every incident as its own event, a new headline, a new controversy, a new chapter. What they missed is that all of it, every single moment of public chaos, connects back to one root, one darkness that Garcia has been fighting before most fans ever heard his name. This channel went back, all the way back. We pulled the interviews, the press conference footage, the gym breakdown, the car moment, the ring champ's confession, and we built the full picture. Not the highlight version, not the drama version, but the complete chronological story of how Ryan Garcia almost quit boxing forever, twice. Here's what this video covers. First, the gym breakdown, the specific day in April 2021 that forced Garcia out of boxing for the first time, the moment in Canelo's facility that his own lawyer witnessed and never forgot. Second, the darkest point, the car, the pills, Garcia's own words about wanting to die, the details he revealed that most sports channels never ran because they were too raw and too real. Third, the twist, because this story doesn't end in 2021. Garcia fought his way back, became a star again, knocked down an unbeaten champion, and then almost quit a second time in 2024. And what pulled him back the second time is the part that makes this whole story worth telling.
From just the blow to the muscles. But right as this punch continues to go through, these electrical signals right now are being sent up through those parasympathetics. That vagus nerve is starting to get activated, but it's not until a second or so later that those effects are fully realized by the body, and that's why this is delayed. Now, a blow that's this severe is also going to deliver enough energy that it can actually cause bleeding and lacerations within the liver itself. The liver is extremely vascularized because of how it helps with removing toxins and digestion and breakdown of products in our body, and it's very susceptible to shear injuries. And so
to understand the weight of what Garcia went through, you need to understand where he was standing when everything collapsed. January 2, 2021. American Airlines Center, Dallas, Texas. Ryan Garcia, 22 years old, undefeated, 21 fights, 18 knockouts, stepped into the ring against Luke Campbell, a former Olympic gold medalist and one of the sharpest technical lightweights in the world. In round 2, Campbell dropped Garcia for the first time in his professional career. A hard, clean shot. Garcia went down. Most fighters lose something when they first hit the canvas, a piece of the invincibility that got them there. But Garcia got up, he recovered, he fought through, and in round 7, he threw a left hook to the body that dropped Campbell and ended the fight. It was the biggest win of his life. Canelo Alvarez was at ringside cheering. The crowd was electric. Garcia celebrated like a man who had found exactly what he was made for. And then, almost immediately, something went wrong. The joy of the Campbell win was long-lived. Garcia himself later said the good feeling lasted barely any time at all. He was back in San Diego training. The next fight was announced, Javier Fortuna, July 9, 2021, with the winner becoming the mandatory challenger for the WBC lightweight title held by Devin Haney. It was the biggest opportunity of Garcia's young career, a chance to become the legitimate #1 contender in the most competitive division in boxing. And this is where the story gets complicated, and this is where the public version of events falls apart completely. Now, most people covering this story stopped at the Instagram post, the one Garcia put out on April 24, 2021, that said he was withdrawing from the Fortuna fight to focus on his health and well-being. They reported it as a pullout, a disappointment, a mystery. A few questioned his toughness. Javier Fortuna's promoter said Garcia was ducking the fight. Canelo Alvarez, his own stablemate, told the press Garcia wasn't dedicated enough. The narrative shaped fast, and it was not kind. What nobody reported was the specific moment that broke him. Garcia had returned to Canelo's training facility in San Diego. He was working with Eddie Reynoso, the star trainer he shared with Alvarez, the best trainer in boxing at that point by almost any measure. The gym was full. Canelo was there. Oscar Valdez was there. All of them preparing for their own fights. Garcia walked in and tried to work. He lasted 20 minutes. In his own words, describing that moment, "When I got to the gym, I just burst out crying for no reason in front of everybody, and I ran out of the gym. That was the moment." He continued, "Canelo, everybody was there, and I was just trying to work out, and I just couldn't hold it in. I just burst. I said, I gotta go, guys." His lawyer and confidant, Guadalupe Valencia, was with him. Garcia walked out of the gym, and the two of them walked outside together for close to an hour. Garcia could not stop crying. He could not explain what was wrong. He later said his whole body felt off, not just his mind. He felt physically disconnected from himself. Everything was wrong, and nothing made sense, and he was standing on the doorstep of the biggest opportunity of his career. Guadalupe Valencia later confirmed what he witnessed. Garcia had his full breakdown outside. He was walking, trying to talk, trying to make sense of what was happening to him. Garcia was asking out loud, "What's wrong with me, man? I just don't get this." That day, that walk was the moment Garcia decided to pull the fight, and when he made that call, he lost something too. He was stripped of the WBC interim lightweight title he had won. Fortuna fought somebody else for it. The mandatory challenger slot disappeared. The road Garcia had been building his whole career suddenly had no clear path forward. In the boxing world, the fans, the analysts, even some of his own camp did not respond with much grace. Canelo Alvarez publicly questioned his dedication. Some fans called him soft. Hall of Famer Timothy Bradley went on ESPN and said he didn't think Garcia would ever fight again. What none of them knew, what most still don't fully appreciate, is that Garcia wasn't just dealing with anxiety or stress in the normal sense. He was in the middle of a genuine mental health collapse, and the darkest part of that collapse had already happened before the gym breakdown, in a car, alone, with a bottle of pills. Because the gym moment, as bad as it was not the bottom. The real bottom came before that, and Garcia only revealed it piece by piece in different interviews over the span of years. When you put it all together, it is the most important part of this entire story. And this is where the real story, the one that mainstream boxing media covered in fragments and never assembled fully, finally comes out. In a 2022 interview on Inside Boxing Live, Garcia spoke about the depths of what he experienced during his 2021 breakdown. He said, "When I was deep in it, I didn't think I was going to live. I was so depressive, and I went to bad habits. I started drinking, and I never drink, ever, but I was getting drunk all the time. I wanted to kill myself at one point." He went further. He described a specific moment, sitting in a car with pills that he had been given. He said, "I remember the moment I was driving in a car. I had a bunch of pills that they gave me, and I was going to put it all in my mouth. It's like, I'm done. There's no way." He described his mental state during that period as total paralysis. He said he would lose his train of thought every 10 seconds. He compared it to the character from the film 50 First Dates, unable to hold a single thought long enough to act on it. He said it was so bad, so intense, that he thought, and these are his exact words, "Maybe I just rather not be here." This is a 22-year-old man, an undefeated boxing star with 18 million followers, a kid who had just scored the biggest knockout of his career 3 months earlier in front of Canelo Alvarez at the American Airlines Center, and he was sitting in a car, holding pills, ready to be done. Think about what boxing nearly lost that day. Not just a fighter, not just a pay-per-view draw, not just a future opponent for Tank Davis or Gervonta Davis or whoever the next big matchup was going to be. Boxing almost lost the fight that beats Haney 3 times. The speed, the left hook, the social media generation's biggest star in the sport, all of it was sitting in that car with him. Garcia eventually put the pills down. He got help. He went into therapy, several months of intensive sessions. He described the process of acceptance. "I stopped fighting against the current and just went with it and let myself recover." He called therapy a pretty good thing for me. For most of 2021, he was out of the ring entirely. He missed a second fight, a planned return against Joseph Diaz Jr. due to a hand injury that required surgery in October. He finally came back in April 2022 against Emmanuel Tago, and he won clearly. Then he knocked out Fortuna, the same Fortuna he had pulled out of fighting the year before in July 2022, dropping him 3 times. Then he stopped Shavin Landetha, then Oscar Duarte in December 2023. He looked recovered. He looked like the fighter boxing had been waiting for. And then 2024 happened, and the darkness came back. But here's what nobody's connecting, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because the comeback from 2021 wasn't a cure, it was a pause. And when the pressure came back harder, divorce, his mother's cancer, the weight of expectation, the Haney fight, Garcia went right back to the same place he'd barely survived 3 years before. Here is the layer that makes this story bigger than boxing. The 2021 breakdown was supposed to be the chapter that Garcia survived and moved on from. He got the help, he came back, he knocked people out, he put the story behind him. That is the version boxing wanted to write. The fall, the comeback, the redemption. Clean and finished. But in early 2025, Garcia sat down for an unfiltered interview on Ring Champs with Ak and Barack, and what he revealed made clear that the story never actually ended. He talked about the months leading into the Haney fight in April 2024, the divorce from his wife, finalized in January of that year, just weeks after their son Henry was born, his mother Lisa's breast cancer diagnosis in June, the weight of custody battles, of public scrutiny, of a fight camp that was supposed to be his crowning moment, and he said, "I was doing everything, gambling, drinking, women, whatever I wanted to do. I was just destroying my soul, just destroying my spirit. Everything took a toll on me." He said he was drinking every day, every single day, including the day of the Haney fight. He showed up to one of the biggest nights of his professional life, a PPV fight against an unbeaten champion, while intoxicated. He missed weight by 3.2 pounds. He pretended to drink from a beer bottle on stage at the weigh-in. What looked like showmanship was something much darker. And somehow, he dropped Haney 3 times. Then, the drug test came back positive for Osterin. The win was overturned, the suspension hit, and Garcia said he crashed worse after the fight than he had before it. He was arrested in June 2024 after destroying a room at the Waldorf Astoria Beverly Hills. He took a high dose of psychedelic mushrooms and lost control entirely. He paid $15,000 in restitution. The charges were dropped. He kept traveling, kept partying. He said his family tried to get him help, and he wasn't listening. And then, in the second half of 2024, he admitted he questioned whether he would ever box again. Not publicly, not in a press release. Quietly, inside the life he was living, he asked himself if he was done. He said in the Ring Champs interview, "I'm surprised I am here right now." This is the twist. The near quit wasn't one night in 2021. It was 2 separate moments, 2021 and 2024, with the same route, the same darkness, the same edge. And the thing that pulled him back in 2024 wasn't a trainer or a contract or a title shot. It was a July arrest in Los Angeles and the threat of losing custody of his 3 children. He said, "Almost losing my kid was a huge part of it." Not the belt, not the legacy, not boxing. His kids. That is what Ryan Garcia is actually fighting for. And once you understand that, the chaos of his public life stops looking like dysfunction and starts looking like a man who is genuinely, painfully human, competing at the highest level of a brutal sport while carrying a weight that would flatten most people before they ever laced up a glove. The boxing world loves a redemption arc. It loves the moment when the broken fighter comes back and wins the big one. But Ryan Garcia's story is more honest than that. It doesn't have a clean ending yet. He beat Haney while drinking. He lost to Romero in his comeback. He went back to the ring against Mario Barrios in early 2026, looking for something to hold on to. The real story of Ryan Garcia isn't about knockouts or knockdowns or drug tests or social media meltdowns. It's about a man who keeps finding reasons to come back from the edge again and again. And that edge is closer than most of the world will ever know.
What you just watched is not a boxing story. Not really. It is a story about what happens when the most unforgiving sport in the world collides with a young man who was never equipped to handle the weight it puts on your shoulders. Garcia started at 15. He was undefeated at 22. He was worth millions before he could legally drink. And while the world was watching his left hook, nobody was checking what was happening inside. The gym breakdown in April 2021 could have been the end. The pills in the car could have been the end. The spiral of 2024 could have been the end. 3 times Ryan Garcia stood at an edge that most people never come close to, and 3 times something brought him back. Boxing still has him, barely, and that is worth understanding before the next fight card, the next press conference, the next wild social media post. Here is the question this story demands an honest answer to. Was boxing good for Ryan Garcia? Or did the sport, the money, the pressure, and the spotlight make everything worse? Drop your answer below. There is no safe answer, and that is exactly why it matters. If you want the real story behind every fighter in boxing, the stuff that doesn't make the highlight packages, hit subscribe. We go where the other channels don't.